Hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of Chatting with the Lightkeeper. I'm Edward, and I hope wherever you're listening, you had a fantastic week, and that this week is off to a fabulous start for yourself. Here in my fair city, located somewhere in the mitten of Michigan, it is very tropical this week. Perhaps you've been listening and heard me lament the lack of winter and snow and my ability to ski. Well, Mother Nature kind of roared back to winter with a vengeance, and as I'm sitting recording this, it is a balmy 0 Fahrenheit. And if you're a fan of Celsius, that works out to be about minus 18. And those are the temps without any, factoring in the wind and how it actually feels on your skin out there. So it's gone from sort of early spring, late fallish to winter, with a nice winter storm thrown in to boot. So yeah, ski season is definitely now here. The good news is my energy from COVID is coming back and coming back quite well now. I still get tired uh, incredibly quickly doing things that surprise me. Obviously, the workday is taxing, not physically but mentally. And I did at the end of last week finally have a work day where I worked a full 12 hours because I'm weird like that. I go until I'm done, not until time clock says I should be done. And of course, being a salaried person, I'm sure that the company appreciates all my extra effort. Uh, Not really, but anyway, you know how that works. The salary, the more you work, the less you make. But anyway, yeah, the energy level for me is coming back, and with hopefully no crazy winter storms coming this next weekend, I can escape and go skiing, and yeah, and hopefully have, the energy to do that. It's not that I lack the energy to ski. I have it. It's just the problematic part would be the after skiing. I would just be drained, which means where I like to ski is either 5 hours away, one way, or a whopping 12-hour ride. Believe it or not, 12 hours of driving keeps me within the great state of Michigan. I also could be in New York City in that same amount of time. If you are not from Michigan, you might not realize it is that big of a place, but it indeed is. So, yeah, that's the good news here from well, I guess it isn't Lake Wobegon, but the shores of one of the Great Lakes, which is now white, frosty, and very chilly. So, getting back to the subject at hand, the weekly topic of the podcast. Last week we started kind of the series I'm calling it 2024, a BDSM Odyssey. And last week we just talked generally about the lifestyle and what it is and all that good stuff. Kind of a little primer, which, if you do have some experience, I hope was a refresher for you. You found a few, at least nuggets of wisdom in there if you are an experienced veteran. This week, we are going to build upon that, and we're going to talk about something that's really scary about BDSM, and it's something that I believe that everyone who has explored the lifestyle has experienced. And what that is fear. Um, there's all kinds of different fears people have as they explore the lifestyle, and they don't all happen at the same time. Some people can be very fearful when they take that first step into the lifestyle. Then there are other people who can maybe take two or three or four steps and then sort of feel a little bit of trepidation. And then there are other people like me who run down the rabbit hole, explore, love it, find it. Oh my goodness, this is part of my soul. And then all of a sudden one day go, what's going on here? This is not who you thought you would be. And oh my goodness, the overthinking starts and the fears start running wild in my mind. And so, no matter where it happens, when it happens, I truly believe that most people who explore the lifestyle are going to butt up against a fear of it at some point. It's sort of like, I don't know, driving along and you come to what looks like a hill and you get to it and suddenly it's a huge drop off and you slam on the brakes and you stop just in time. Or thinking of skiing, it's one of those times where you're skiing down a run and you kind of have this little ridge and you can't see what's beyond it. And as you start to crest the ridge, you still can't see what's coming. And is it a drop? Is it a cliff? If you don't know what's on the other side, it is a kind of one of those moments which, you know, it's a little lump in your throat, shall we say. But since fear happens to everyone when they explore the lifestyle, at least I believe so, I'm sure there's somebody out there who has roared down the rabbit hole of the lifestyle and found it ideal, perfect, and perhaps didn't have any fear. That would be the minority. So fears and anxiety around the lifestyle is common. So when it happens to you, should it happen to you, know that it's normal. A lot of times it can seem like a very lonely place to be. Makes me think of that song. I think it's old '70s song by Three Dog Night. My mom was a Supertramp and Three Dog Night fanatic. In fact, I'm sure I still have some of her eight tracks, including the working eight track player of Three Dog Night. But they did a song called "One Is the Loneliest Number," and that just popped into my head. The shiny moments that my brain brings to mind. But when you do have the fear that or anxiety that comes with the lifestyle or from the lifestyle causes this anxiety to happen within you. Understand that you are not, jamming out to the old '70s Three Dog Night and thinking that, this is the loneliest place to be because it's very common. You're not alone with it. So first of all, let's just kind of talk through some of the most common fears, and everyone is unique. So if you feel something that is fearful or makes you anxious, that I don't talk about here, it's fine, it's good. We're just going to go through some of the most common ones, and if I went through all of them that I've heard through my experience in the lifestyle, we'd be here literally until probably next week when Michigan feels like early spring. But anyway, the most common one is what will our friends think? What will our coworkers think? What will our family think? It's that fear of judgment, our Aunt Judy judgment or George judgment. I guess why did I go with G for George rather than J? Probably because Jeremy judgment. There we go. All right. But we have this fear of judgment of others because, let's face it, BDSM is not something that we can walk around with and have a t-shirt that says, I love BDSM and not get weird looks from people. It would be great if society was accepting, if society was understanding, and yes, uh, thanks to play books and movies like Fifty Shades of Grey, which yes, they have their negatives. We won't go there now, but because of that, it has opened many people's minds and hearts to the lifestyle. Even if they say that's not for me, they're more accepting of it. But because society is judgmental and features so many misconceptions about the lifestyle, um, we can be very apprehensive about how others are going to perceive us if they find out that we Googled consensual spanking or we Googled, consensual power exchange. And it can be very, very anxious to navigate this. And what if somebody finds out? Of course, another very common thing, and this is in my mind not a bad thing, but no matter where you reside on the slash, whether you're dominant, submissive, or a switch, or just a person that enjoys some of the fantastic things the lifestyle has to offer, but doesn't fully embrace everything the lifestyle has to offer, it's very common to have safety concerns. And we typically, when we say safety, everyone sort of by default thinks of the person on the submissive role. But dominants have safety concerns too. I've been concerned for my safety. I've had my consent, if you will, violated. Um, I've had a few bad experiences. Um, and that's a, guy who is on the dominant side. And I know most men think, oh, it can't happen to me or it won't happen to me. Like, or somehow having a penis has magical powers that protect us from safety concerns. But it doesn't. So everyone probably will have safety concerns at some point in their journey. May make you a little anxious as well, um, regardless of your gender or how you identify. It's very common, and it's good to be cognizant of our safety because in the lifestyle, the only person that can keep us safe is ourselves. And our safety doesn't necessarily mean physical safety. Yes, our physical safety obviously is very important, but the whole lifestyle is very mental. So we also need to be aware of keeping our emotional safety, our mental health safe, if you will, in the lifestyle. So that can be our safety can be something that can be very concerning and also cause some anxiety. Another problem that happens, especially when you are newer, is because you're newer and you haven't had time to do all of your research. You're exploring this, but you haven't had the time or the space to really dig in and develop a full understanding of the lifestyle and of yourself. That mis sort of understanding or not getting the full picture can cause anxiety, especially with all the different kinds of dynamics in the lifestyle, the dynamics that surround the lifestyle, like poly or open relationships, like swinging, that are kind of under the lifestyle umbrella. Um, it can be very overwhelming, and that, of course, being overwhelmed can easily lead to feeling anxious. And another thing that is common for people to experience is feeling a loss of control. And once again, you were saying control, so please understand it's not just the submissive side that can fear losing control during lifestyle activities. Dominants, especially newer dominants, are going to kind of have the a fear and even experience dominance. Often with new partners, will have um, a fear of maybe going too far or um, losing kind of their own sense of control during the scene because they get wrapped up in it and they enter dom space and what happens then, or all sorts of things like that lead to anxiety. And then not only do we have a fear of control, let's face it, it can be intimidating. And I've been in the lifestyle since I'm in college, and I'm in my very early 50s now. I don't feel that old. I really don't. I don't feel old, but I am. Um, Even still, even being, around the lifestyle for as many years as I have, occasionally I can struggle. And when I say struggle, it doesn't mean that I can't talk about the lifestyle. By struggling, I mean I will feel a little anxious perhaps to say something to a potential new partner or someone that I'm getting to know, even though we may have met in the lifestyle. I can feel a little anxious sharing things with it. And when I say anxious, it means I will probably blush. And rather than just be blunt and say something, I will kind of blush. And, for example, rather than say sex, you might find me go Sheldon Cooper and coitus comes out of my mouth. Very romantic to say coitus, by the way. It's not. But yeah, I do that. So communications can be a challenge. And if you're newer to communicate effectively and clearly, and communication is so important with boundaries and limits and safe words and all that goes into being able to communicate, um, being able to communicate about the lifestyle can cause everyone to feel a little anxious at times. And then we all come to the lifestyle with some past experiences, and sometimes our past experiences are not pleasant. They are not great. And in fact, some of our past experiences may not be related to the lifestyle at all, but they can be triggers. And if we're exploring something new, it can be a concern or make us anxious that something in the lifestyle may trigger us, or it may sort of rip the band-aid off that emotional wound that is healing. So that can cause fear and anxiety. And so many people in the lifestyle are single and searching, searching for their perfect dom or searching for their forever submissive, looking for their forever people. But at the same time, I think most everyone has a little anxiety or even fear around opening up and being intimate with another person. And when I say intimate, I'm talking about the emotional intimacy, not the bow chicka wow wow intimacy. And being vulnerable with a person. That is a very, very scary place to go. If you open up your most intimate thoughts. And what happens if the person you're opening up to doesn't reciprocate? Does that mean they're not on the same page? Are you not on the same page? Or are you ahead of them? Or are they ahead of you? And we all know how the overthinking can spiral from there, which of course is going to lead um, to anxiety and fear. And if we have a bad breakup in our past and if you don't have a bad breakup in your past, that's fantastic, and I hope you never do. But I think it's something we all in life go through. And so that's going to influence and make us anxious about next time and how we approach it and all of that. And on top of all of this, since, we can't walk around, well, I guess we can, but because of the way society is, kind of stigmatized the lifestyle, we don't walk around in that I love BDSM t-shirt. We can feel a little socially isolated from others because we are exploring this taboo. And since it's not mainstream and we typically can't go to our bestie and say, hey, I'm going down this rabbit hole and I'm finding it fascinating. Now, some of you may have the bestie that can, or maybe it's your bestie that said, hey, you should explore this. And that's fabulous. But many people feel a bit of isolation as they explore the lifestyle. And this is where having the greater community, and whatever your community looks like, whether it's connecting with others online or going to in-person classes and events, can really help with that fear and anxiety that comes from kind of feeling isolated because of liking something outside of the mainstream. And speaking of mainstream, let's face it, the way the media portrays the lifestyle, the stereotypes that are out there, most of them are negative. Most of them are exaggerated portrayals of the lifestyle. And so those types of things can lead to being fearful or being anxious of exploring it. Maybe somebody saw 50 Shades of Grey and somehow it really, like it turned on part of their mind that they never knew existed before. But the way the movie portrays the lifestyle, your mind is filled with these thoughts of, wow, that sort of hit home, but the rest of the way this movie went, I don't want to be a part of that. The way the lifestyle is out there for others to consume it in the media definitely can cause some fear and anxiety. And then the last one, um, and I'm glad to see that it is something that is common because it is for me, normally I am a unique person and, things are unique for me, just how my life has always gone. But with this one, now that I'm older, I'm very happy to see others talk about, others share, and to realize that what I went through was not a unique to Edward experience, but it's something that is shared with others. And the more people I know and the more people I interact with in lifestyle, so many of them, when we're talking about our entry or what has happened to us on our journeys, share this in common. And it's kind of been nice to know that my big moment of anxiety, or I guess it was a few years of anxiety, fear, and all of that, um, is a common occurrence, and that is the self-judgment machine. And I am very hard on myself. I am always pushing myself, which that pushing myself probably doesn't lend to overcoming the exhausted side of COVID as quickly as if I would be kind to myself. But I'm always pushing myself, you know, be better tomorrow, do more tomorrow, be better. And that pushing of myself leads to me making self-judgment with myself. And most people, when we do or we engage in self-judgment, it's not, wow, we did really good today. Yay, go us. Normally, when we are engaging in self-judgment, we are doing the opposite. We are like, oh, we really messed that up today. We've got to do better tomorrow. Um, and our judgment often leaves us feeling guilty, right? We have unconventional desires. Let's face it, BDSM, unconventional is a great way to put it. And then, since we are judging ourselves negatively, feeling guilty for what we are feeling, especially in my case, the lifestyle felt like home. But as I started to overanalyze, overthink, judge myself, um, it really ground away. And I guess I felt guilty for liking it. And so, feeling guilty and all the self judgment I put on myself, I stepped back from the lifestyle after college. Um, it's what I did. And this is something that is very common. So, to continue with my story and the lifestyle, I discovered it in college. I went out searching for a Taco Bell, of all things, got lost, couldn't find it, and kept obviously going around the same block, even though I swore I wasn't, because I kept seeing the same adult bookstore. And I was, still kind of am, a naive, trusting person. And coming from a small town, I thought adult bookstore, literally, this is what I thought when I walked in, would be a bookstore, kind of like Barnes and Noble, um, where rather than there would be no children's section, obviously, and perhaps no, I don't know, no section on history. That there would probably be more adult themed, like romantic books, probably a larger selection of porn magazines. This was pre-internet, by the way, so there wasn't internet porn. If you wanted porn, you actually had to buy paper porn. So I was expecting, more pornish magazines, more smutty novels, that type of thing, rather than um, adult toys, sex toys, um, paddles, floggers, all this wonderful stuff that you find in an adult toy shop. Um, so the fact that it was next to a gentleman's club didn't raise any red flags for me. It probably should have, but in my naivety, I didn't. And so I went in, found the BDSM section, and started down the rabbit hole. Um, and that led to finding mentors because I was really, like, really curious, really into it. The more I read and discovered and went back to the adult shop. Amazingly enough, I could find my way back there. Still took me a few weeks to find Taco Bell, but I could find my way back. Like, I knew how I got lost, so I was able to get lost again and find my way back to the adult store, which for me is fantastic. Once again, before the internet, before GPS. So I went down the rabbit hole without the internet and worked really hard to find, because I had to find. It wasn't like I could, go online and look for events near me over on FetLife like I can now. I had to look around and discreetly make inquiries to connect with people in my local community. And because it was pre-internet, that meant you still had to get vetted to go to a munch, which meant I had to meet the host of the munch on their terms at their place and their restaurant of choice, and get to know them before I got told where the secretive munch was happening, which was another restaurant down the street, and what time to be there and what day. So it was a different era, obviously. Very glad I did it, but as I neared the end of my days in college, I started, thinking about what's next and planning to be an adult. And the whole BDSM thing, because of the way society viewed it as being a taboo, I put it on myself as, well, this was part of your college exploration and wanting to experience, everything you could in college, and this really doesn't fit into what society says is next after college graduation. So I put it away. And the big reasons why I put it away was the self-judgment, the guilt that I put on myself for liking it. Um, and I went vanilla. I had two wonderful relationships after college. Uh, Two beautiful young ladies that amazingly liked me for me, my geeky self. But in both cases, the relationships just didn't click for me. And I found myself unhappy and in a sense feeling, and boredom is not the right word, but it's the word that always comes to mind. Feeling bored, unhappy with the relationship, and that was because obviously my lifestyle needs were not getting met. And it wasn't their fault. Obviously, I wasn't sharing that I had these needs uh, that I had to have met to be satisfied in the partnership. Um, so it wasn't them, it was me, and it's not the bad breakup line, but in this case, it was true. And after the second relationship failed, and I realized that it was failing because I felt the same way, I was having, of course, the thought that it's not them, it's me, and what's wrong with me. So once again, I journeyed back into the self-judgment, overthinking, negative thought pattern, and going through my life, and I'd put, all my BDSM knowledge that I acquired and all that stuff in a nice little sort of box in my mind and put it into mental storage. And as I journeyed into the realm of really self-reflection, um, to discover what I needed, what I wanted for what's next in my life, relationship wise. That self reflection kind of led me back to crack the top of that BDSM box that was packed away. First time I cracked it open, I just sort of cracked it open and went, oh no, it can't be that, and put it back in my mental storage, and then came back to it and explored a little bit more, then put it away, and it was a back and forth thing for me. I would look at it, put it away, look at it, put it away, and then finally I looked at it, and then by this point the internet had come along, and so then the tiptoeing started back. I didn't just say yes, this is it, and jump right back into the deep end. It was a very much a tiptoe, and it was sort of like the person at the beach on a warm day, but the water's frigid. So you go in a little bit and then you get cold and you take a few steps back and then you take a few steps more forward because you start to get hot again. So it was that back and forth until I was fully back immersed and comfortable with my decision to come back to the lifestyle. So it's taking those steps back is something that if you need to, please do. There are people out there who, uh, unfortunately, in my opinion, preach that once you enter the lifestyle and if you start to feel overwhelmed or anxious or fears, that's when you should just, plow ahead, full speed ahead. The old Civil War quote from Admiral Farragut, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. Um, and that may work for some people, but I find that we do need the time for self-reflection, and we can't really do self-reflection if we're damming the torpedoes and going full speed ahead. Uh, we just we just can't as human beings. It's not how we're wired. So self-reflection was the key for me, and I believe is the key for many, when it comes to handling the fear and anxiety that can come from various sources in various ways. And of course, in our minds, we are being human and can multiply that exponentially. Um, so self-reflection is really key. And then there are a few other things, avenues that can help us while we're doing our self-reflection to figure out what is causing the fear or what's causing us to be anxious about the whole lifestyle. First and foremost is doing our homework. It means rolling up our sleeves, going out there, doing research, educating ourselves, and learning about the lifestyle. The more we know, the easier it is to do self reflection, to have a better understanding of ourselves because we have a better understanding of the lifestyle. So, engaging and educating ourselves about the lifestyle is very key. And then the other thing is going slow. Many people, especially in the internet age, kind of remind me of the kid on vacation and they finally checked into the hotel, finally got their swimsuits on, and the kid just goes flying to the pool and just jumps right in. And in the internet age, I see that all the time with people when they go flying and jump right into the deep end of the lifestyle rather than starting and tiptoeing and gradually going in. And oftentimes when we just jump right in and get immersed in it, it can be very easy to get overwhelmed, to get anxious, to perhaps feel like we're drowning in the pool of BDSM. And let's face it, there are some individuals in the BDSM pool who poop at it. And if you just go running headlong and jump right in, you might land in somebody's poop. And let's face it, nobody wants that. So start slow, tiptoe. If you need to step back, and then tiptoe forward again. However, it fits for you. I just personally, I highly do not recommend the, running jump into the deep end. Go slow. You can always keep going deeper and deeper and deeper if everything feels awesome. But just go in, go gradual, take your time, experience what you want to experience. If you need to, step back or you get cold, step out of the pool for a minute, let the sun warm you up. Um, the other thing is effective communication. Communication, communication, communication. I know you hear it from me all the time, but it's very important to be able to say what you want and what you need in clear ways so that your partner or partners can understand and that you can clearly say, hey, I'm interested in this. This is a boundary over here. I'm worried that this might be a trigger over there. The more we communicate, the more comfortable we are, and it creates a safe, consensual space. And speaking of safe spaces, create a safe space for yourself. Um, However that works and looks like for you. Have a safe lifestyle place that you can go. Um, where maybe it's somebody that you feel safe talking to, or the way that maybe you use a special web browser for surfing the lifestyle and use your other web browser for everything else. Whatever works for you, have a little safe space that you can go to for the lifestyle that is kind of safe and perhaps without any vanilla noise. And of course, self-reflection is very key. And what goes along with self-reflection is self-care. We have to take care of ourselves mentally and physically, reduce our stress to really be able to reflect. If we are stressed and on edge and anxious, say from work, we are not going to really be able to engage in good self-reflective thoughts about our lifestyle journey if we're anxious and upset about other things in our lives. So self-care is important in order to have the self. reflection that we all need to go through with everything. And we also need to be able to build trust. The lifestyle, especially when it comes to partnerships, whether it's relationship, whether it's engaging in casual play with friends with benefits, or however it works for you, we have to be able to build trust. In building trust takes, being able to talk about what makes us anxious, what fears we have, where our boundaries and limits are. So you have to be able to build trust and build trust with somebody before you kind of go into their pool any deeper. And finally, there's this wonderful thing that, and it's this broad umbrella that gets talked about all the time, the BDSM community. Well, rather than just engage on a website like FetLife where you might randomly post in this group and that group, build your own community. Build your own support network within the lifestyle. And first of all, my advice, especially if you are newer, focus on connecting with people who have the same role as you do. If you are a dominant, focus on building connections with other dominants rather than searching for your submissive. And if you're a submissive, focus on building connections with other submissives before going on the search for a dominant partner. And if you're a switch, um, go out there and connect with other switches because there's so much to, especially with switches, to that dynamic. It's very important to have a good base of people to talk to, no matter what your role. Having a good base of people to talk to is so important. And the reason why I recommend building your community and having your community of people with the like-minded roles is because when, for example, I'm a dominant, and when I engage with other dominants, there's we can talk about whatever it is without the underlying current of, gee, is there an attraction here? Is there not an attraction? Because yes, it's great to have submissives who are friends. I have many submissives who are amazing, amazing people that I call friends. I also have amazing dominant friends. But it's nice because while BDSM is sort of like a coin. You have one side which is the dominant side, and the other side which is the submissive side. And being able to talk about things with those on the same side of the coin as you are, you're able to get perspective from other people who view the kinky world similarly to you. No one views the kink world the same as you. Everyone's going to see everything a little differently. There are going to be people who are going to agree to disagree with you, and all that good stuff. But when you have a support network of people who are of a similar mindset, it is absolutely a fantastic way to build connections, build your knowledge, and learn from others because, uh, one fellow dominant might have had a similar experience, and I can extrapolate from their experience to help me grow. And same with submissives. You can talk to other submissives, and another submissive may have had a similar experience, which will help you grow as a submissive without necessarily having to go through the experience because not all experiences are amazing, wonderful, positive things that we want to share. So sometimes it's better to learn lessons from others than be like me and learn things the hard way sometimes. I'm sure it's just me. None of you who listen to this podcast ever have to learn a lesson the hard way because you are much smarter than I am. I am certain of that. But I'm a hard way kind of guy. Even when I play craps, I like to play the hard ways. But anyway, yeah, build your community. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to follow certain people on Instagram or be over on FetLife or have a blog or follow certain bloggers or listen to a certain podcast or listen to my podcast. It just means that you build your support network of people that support you, that understand you, and very importantly, make sure to have it filled with people that are on the same side of the Kingtastic coin that you are. And that will really, having all of that and doing all of that will help you overcome any fear or anxieties that could happen and most likely will happen as you explore the lifestyle. And please, I think the most important thing is just to take your time with your journey. There's no way to um, rush through learning. There's no way to rush through having experiences. Everything takes time, and it takes time to build everything together inside yourself before you are able and ready to go out there and be in a position to share life and the lifestyle with a partner. Good things take time. So take your time, enjoy the journey, and when you feel a little bit of fear or anxiety, revert back to some of the things we talked about, and it will definitely help you along the way. So I want to thank you, everyone, for listening this week. Um, Next week, we are continuing with 2024, our BDSM Odyssey, um, talking about exploring consent. I have said to friends that 2024 is the year of consent for me. I'm going to talk about consent as often as I can. And so next week on the podcast, we are going to explore consent in the realm of the lifestyle. So I hope you will join me for that. And no matter where you're listening, please go ahead and click the follow button so you never miss an episode. And I hope everyone has a fantastic week. And I look forward to seeing you same time, same place as we explore consent and BDSM. Until then, have a great day.